Know who you are. You are part of a greater dynamic, of a hive mind, and at the same time, you are exactly who you're meant to be. You are either the good or the bad of how you are raised, and you simply choose fear or faith. Fear will drive you to the bad behaviors of what you grew up with, and dynamically by fear or faith, you will choose a partner who will either be opposing to that, what you grew up in, that was fearful towards your faith, to heal what it is within you, or you'll pick somebody of the opposite who will continue down the path. So what happens when we act within fear, thinking we won't, we're trying to defend against becoming who our parents were in a negative light, or we were raised in a negative light, is that by fear, we create that scenario. We create a scenario that we hated growing up where, we had a mother or father who divorced due to mental health problems, and then we naturally, in wanting to heal that, might help somebody, marry somebody with a mental health issue, and then out of our own fear, we create a scenario where we become the very thing we didn't like about our parents splitting up because of that, rather than walking through it and recreating the bad dynamic. And so this is about overcoming generational sin. So do you, as an individual, do you look for perfection from others and demand it from your own point of view, which comes from a full reflection of your past, or do you look for the person from their own point of view with their own past? Because if you're looking from everything from your point of view, you're putting fear or faith from your own point of view. If you're looking for how people see it from their own point of view, you have a better understanding of who that person is, and you're looking for some things outside of yourself in how to love, care, influence, do right by people. And so you're either a person who looks for things for yourself, or you're looking to serve other parties. And really it's about, are you creating a kingdom on earth that's subject to you and how you feel, and how the things that you want to subjugate your feelings? Or are by faith, are you building a kingdom of heaven? Are you lifting people up where they are with what they need? Because a person building a kingdom of heaven is caring about the actual other individual other than themselves. And that other individual naturally cares about you because you're giving what you want to receive. And over time, you create a network of individuals who know who you are as a giver, and so they naturally want to give and help you. If you're building a kingdom of earth, you're naturally trying to manipulate people to get what you want while denying the truth to them and lying essentially to get your way constantly. And people realize that, and you ask yourself why you're upset or whatnot, but you know you're upset because you're trying to get your way. Now, some people learn this really quickly, other people don't, and the longer it takes for you to learn which way you're building, the harder it will be. Sometimes you can be building one, you can be building a kingdom of heaven, and someone in the kingdom of earth decides to manipulate everybody around you, and it creates a great distress in your life. Nobody's willing to hear you because they're not mature enough to recognize that the other person had gossiped and lied, and by the time they realize it, they may not want to take on the shame of admitting what they did was wrong. And they may not have the energy or the ability to stand up to people because it's just not who they are. They rather stay out of conflict. So, you've got to be who you are in the dynamic. And some people, they don't have enough in them to withstand the harm, standing up for what's right or what's good. Sometimes people they want to break down. What do? You love them where they're at, but, don't be fooled in that they're going to, withstand any heat. They don't want the heat. They don't want to work through it. They would rather have a loss of relationship something on heaven or earth than deal with, having a conflict, which is unfortunate, because real people suffer, and so this is the war of heaven. People, warriors for good, people who are done fighting or don't want to fight the battle for good versus evil, and people who want to fight for evil to justify their own evil, their own evil deeds, so they don't have to own up to them. It's very hard to recognize in a dynamic whether you're doing good or bad, but it's not so hard when you realize that every argument is essentially the same. One person punches first, another person punches back. And so the person that punches first has to rewrite history to make themselves look entirely like they did nothing wrong. They have a hard time admitting anything wrong. And they will seek to control the conversation, seek to control who talks to who. They'll want you to take their evidence and justify harming another person, despite the fact you didn't see it, and that you shouldn't. The person who punches back is the first person to come admit they're wrong and what they did in the situation. They have no need to control the outcome. They have every need to have the other person stop what it is that they're doing. So they don't need to control what people see necessarily, but they don't want continued harm from the other individual. So if the person who punches back starts punching not from a sense of learning, but a sense of, you got to submit to me, well, then they end up in a feud. And you have to, one side will have to humble themselves to wait. Essentially, what matters is control. Who's controlling the lines of communication? Who's actually caring? Who's actually, harming? Because a lot of people, they hate admitting harm. They hate admitting that they've done something to hurt somebody else intentionally. And their memories actually protect them in a way by either rewriting everything, any sacrifice or whatnot, as to, that's the other person's fault. Whatnot, the person who punched back, it's because their minds can't handle it. We as individuals, we're not meant to do bad things. And so we like to forget our bad things and like to stay focused only on our good things. But, the truth is that we do harm people, and the truth is loving. It's important to recognize that. Otherwise, you allow evil to rise, nobody ever confronts the evil happening. And that's why Proverbs 27 talks about, being a friend, being the good and the bad, that you don't deny what's bad, to only lift up the good, because it allows evil to essentially reign. Evil reigns when good men do nothing. And so in the spiritual battle of doing what's right and doing what's good, you don't deny that bad things happen. You admit them, tell the truth, keep short accounts, you try to work things out. But if you have somebody that's only wants perfection from their own point of view, wants to say that they're a holy person, they read the scriptures, commit to the scriptures, but deny the scriptures only when it's convenient for their own sake of argument. It's just like somebody who denies what the law is when it's convenient for them, but they want to, stamp people down when it's not. And what that is just somebody that's like, I want you to be able to steal. I want to be able to steal from you, but you definitely can't steal from me. And then this is what the Pharisees taught. The Pharisees taught that Sadducees, Pharisees, they were focused on making people submitted to a law that they weren't, following themselves. And this is why, if you want to enter heaven, you have to be more righteous than the Pharisees were. You can't go around making people submit to how you see things and then not be willing to submit to those things yourself. That's it's a double bind, and it's essentially what Jesus combated. You cannot, let the temple, the church, or yourself not be righteous and then demand righteousness from everybody around you. Because what happens is society crumbles. The temple essentially will fall. And yeah, every piece of gold will be picked up out of it because gold is worth money. So, if you want to be treated fairly, you want to be treated kindly, you want to be treated lovingly. Realize that your kindness is not always kind if you lift up kindness above truth. Truth that's not kind is hard to take. Kindness that's not true is hard to take as well. And if you expect that everything is a negotiation, whether it's family or whoever, and that you get angered when people don't allow you to have your way, and then you expect them on the other side to be held accountable to morality that you're totally unwilling to, well, then you're like the Pharisees. And so, be aware of who's doing this and who's not. Because as you justify, cutting people out of your life, controlling, who you talk to or whatnot, you are going to stamp on righteous people. And those people will, they'll be buried for a little while, but they will rise. And when they rise, you will be put to shame and you will fall. And it will be very embarrassing. And you know what? It'll be just like when Joseph took over in Egypt. Joseph never wanted his brothers to have any kind of shame. He loved them. But they did do something improper to him. And he did have to make sure that they knew what they did. If they weren't willing to be remorseful for what they did, there's no way he could have helped them. Despite how much he wanted to help his father, his brother that he loved so much.